be a funny thing to say to a surgeon before anesthesia kicks in 5 seconds later? One time I had to get my wisdom teeth taken out, and I was super nervous. I mean, I knew it was a routine thing, but the idea of being knocked out with people poking around in my mouth felt vulnerable. So, the nurse hooks me up to the IV and says, "Okay, the doctor will be in shortly." A few minutes later, the surgeon walks in, young, maybe mid-30s, super calm energy, and goes, "All right, you ready to go night-night?" I nod, and I remember thinking, okay, now's my moment. Say something funny, make him laugh. So I go, "Do me a favor, if I don't wake up, clear my browser history." He laughs and says, "What if I find something I like?" Then I immediately blacked out. Never got to respond. Still mad about that. That was just the start of my collection. Story 2. My older brother had to get his appendix out in college. He was freaking out, texting the whole family group chat things like, "If I die, tell mom I ate the last Twix bar in 2008 and blamed her, and make sure no one posts a weird photo of me in the obituary." He gets wheeled into the OR, and just as they're about to put the mask over his face, he says super dramatically, "Tell my ex I never loved her, and tell my dog I tried." They had to pause for a second because the anesthesiologist was laughing too hard to hold the mask steady. 3. My roommate Anna had surgery on her shoulder last year. She's a little bit of a troll, so of course she planned ahead. She practiced a one-liner in the mirror the night before. We're in the prep room and she's giddy like, "They're not ready." The nurse says, "Okay, count backwards from 10, and Anna goes, 10, 9, oh god, I left the stove on." Everyone paused. The surgeon asked, "Wait, did you really?" But by then she was out cold. Turns out she had left the stove on. We came home later to a scorched pot of mac and cheese and a very loud smoke detector. She still swears it was a coincidence. 4. A guy I used to date, Ben, told me this story once about his mom getting knee replacement surgery. Sweetest woman ever. Like Midwest wholesome energy. Apparently, right before they administered anesthesia, she looked the doctor dead in the eye and said, "You break it, you bought it." Then she just nodded like a cowboy and went out like a light. Ben said the whole surgical team lost it. They put it in her chart. The post-op nurse actually greeted her with, "Hey partner, 5, this one's mine again." I was 22 and having minor surgery to remove a cyst on my back. I'd never had general anesthesia before and was convinced I'd say something embarrassing as I went under. I had rehearsed not saying anything weird, but of course, the drugs kicked in faster than I expected. The anesthesiologist goes, "All right, you might feel a little sleepy," and I, completely unplanned, grab his wrist and whisper, "Tell my goldfish I won the custody battle." I woke up 2 hours later and the nurse was like, "So, how's the goldfish holding up?" Apparently, I kept mumbling about a court case for the next 10 minutes as I drifted off. I don't even own a goldfish. 6. A friend of mine works in the OR at a children's hospital. One day, this 9-year-old kid was about to go under for tonsil surgery. Super chatty, clearly nervous. Right as the gas starts working, he blurts out, "If I see Jesus, I'm gonna ask him why mosquitoes exist." Then he goes limp, and the surgeon just whispers, "That's a solid question, kid." He wrote it down to tell his wife later. 7. My cousin Jeff had a vasectomy last year. He's a pretty sarcastic guy. He walks in and immediately starts telling the staff, "This is my last stand, fellas. After today, my legacy ends." Right before the anesthesia hits, he looks at the nurse and says, "If I wake up and my voice is higher, I'm suing." She replied, "We'll pitch your complaints accordingly." I think he fell in love with her in that moment. 8. My dad had a colonoscopy a few months ago and was determined to one-up everyone who'd ever said something funny going under. He asked the nurse if he could wear sunglasses during the procedure. They said no. So instead, right before they knocked him out, he shouted, "Let's make this butt sparkle, people." He woke up and asked, "Did we bedazzle it?" The nurse just shook her head and said, "You were very sparkly, sir." 9. I once dated a guy who told me his final words before gallbladder surgery were, "Tell my girlfriend I loved her, unless I survive. Then delete this message." He said he was trying to cover all bases. 10. One more of mine, and probably my favorite. I was having minor foot surgery. Nothing wild. But the OR was cold, and I had these ridiculous slipper socks on with little cartoon pizzas. The nurse says, "Cute socks." And I say, "Thanks. If I die, donate them to science." Right as the drugs start pulling me under, I hear someone say, "I don't think science wants your pizza."